You are listening to selfdiscoverymedia.com, where illumination and inspiration is but a click away. With so many genre topics for you on everything that you need to know in life. We celebrate and share the people who have taken the journey before you and who are now here to serve you with their wisdom and their knowledge. The next show coming up is...
The computer. Good day, everyone, and welcome to the Recovering the Whole of You. My name is Dr. Kitty Adley, physical therapist, recovery expert. I am the owner and operator of Handling Your Health, Wellness, and Rehab in Nassau, Bahamas, but we service patients and clients from the Bahamas and beyond. Today, I am so honored to have with me in studio or in the podcast, Angela Marciano, physical therapist extraordinaire. I will let her introduce herself so we can get on with this show. This show is going to be fantastic. We're talking about know your body, love your body. Who doesn't need more body love? I know I definitely do. So I'm turning it over to you, Angela. Thank you so much for joining us. Please tell us a little bit about you, maybe a lot about you. How did you get to be at this present space right now?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I love what you're doing. So I am up just north of Boston, Massachusetts, and I've been a physical therapist for over 25 years. Mm-hmm. Ooh, that sounds like too long. And then I added Pilates to what I was doing about 10 years ago, which was a really nice add-on. Mm-hmm. And I recently stepped out of the traditional healthcare system because it just wasn't focused on really what's best for the patient as a whole. And it was sort of a Band-Aid fix. You know, you would get folks to the point where they were doing okay, but not really better and not going to stay better. And doing that has allowed me, so my focus is women over 30. Mm-hmm. So they tend to have some special issues, especially moms, and then they're trying to juggle the whole work or home life, mom life, everything with whatever I'm telling them to do at home. So trying to make that fit, right? Like, and understand when they're like, well, I really can't, because sometimes they really can. And people have different levels of support at home.
Yes.
Some people have big supportive families. Some people have like nobody, they're it. So stepping out of healthcare has allowed me the time and energy. I've also recently started a networking group for women's health, fitness, and wellness providers in my local area because it's great online. I've connected with so many people recently. This is such a time of growth and connection, but it's very different than the in-person.
Right.
So this has been we just had our 4th meetup. We meet once a month, and it's a mixed bag, multidisciplinary, physical therapist, massage therapist. The woman who spoke today does hypnosis. And I'd love to see it grow more because I know I'm not the solution for everybody, but I need to know who's out there and what they're doing. And sometimes it's a matter of knowing 2 or 3 physical therapists because I'm good at certain things and I'm good with certain personalities, but there's so many great providers really everywhere. It's just a matter of connecting. And the more connected we are, the more we can help our clients. And I really enjoy the connecting and sharing stories and just sharing. We have so much to share and learn from each other.
I think that is so awesome. I hear you speak, and one of the reasons why I wanted to do this podcast was to connect the general population to the healthcare providers. And as I hear you speak, I'm like, we need to connect the healthcare providers to the healthcare providers so we can pass on, like you said, if it's out of my scope of practice or it's not within my skill set, I need to know that person that I can send you to meet your needs. And I think it's fantastic. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for what you do. I think I'm going to start my own networking program here in the Bahamas, in the Caribbean.
Everybody should have something like that.
Mm-hmm. This is absolutely awesome. And so I'm going to come back to the networking group, but something you said at the beginning really stood out to me. You said you left traditional healthcare because you felt that the patients weren't getting enough. What does Angela, what do you offer your patients that goes above and beyond of what they would typically get in a traditional healthcare setting?
So in the traditional setting, it's very focused on kind of, can you work? Can you get stuff done around the house? And not so much about, can you do the things that you really love? Mm-hmm. And it's oftentimes you get people out of pain but they're not always strong enough to stay out of pain and to stay out of trouble. And you teach them some stuff, but you don't really have time to teach them how to manage themselves. So if something does happen, so I do a lot of education, and I don't necessarily see them for more visits. The insurances are a little tricky sometimes because you had to see people, if you've had chronic back pain for 20 years, I don't really want to see you for 6 weeks. I want to see you for 6 months, but probably the same number of visits, because I'll spread it out a little bit and like, okay, Kitty, you're doing great. You've been feeling good. You know what to do for your home exercises. You know what to do if you get into trouble. Go on your own for 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks. Call me if you get into trouble. And then let's check in and bump it up to the next level. If you were training for a marathon, right? You don't start with 26 miles. You start with walking a mile, walk 2 miles, walk 4 miles, or jog 8 miles. So it's a process of building over time, building skills, building strength, building understanding. So clients and patients really, they need that, whether it's an acute injury typically, or especially with things that have been going on for a long time. So, I do care. I do need time to hear what's going on in their life, because it matters, because you might be coming in for back pain, but you're also going through a lot of personal stress or some financial, like it impacts how you're going to respond to treatment, how you're going to be able to comply with whatever we're doing. So it all matters. And I really do care. I love my patient. I would do what I do for free if I could. I would just go around and just treat people and hang out.
So what you're talking about is how the whole wellness, the various wellness components affect recovery. And I think, like you said, when we're in the system, we have these outcome measures that we look at. And once we take those outcome measures off the list, well, you're okay, you should go back into it. But, those outcome measures, like that looks at shoulder function or leg function or the way the back feels, doesn't really get to the root of the problem, one maybe, or the other things that are affecting the overall wellness, right? I know sometimes with my oncology patients, we use the cancer distress thermometer, and it's a really good tool because it has 30 items on it. A lot of them are physical, but there are also some psychosocial behavioral things as well.
Yeah.
And we use that tool as well. I use it in my practice because it gives me an idea of what else do we need to have a conversation about that we don't neglect. So I totally appreciate where you're coming from with the holistic approach to it. And I really hope more healthcare providers provide this, because we're only getting half of the job done. And this is why you say they rebound so much. Yes. So do you have any wellness programs that you offer in your clinic? Because what I love about what you said is that you have to know your body, and knowing your body, you can love your body better. What services do you offer in your practice that can help somebody develop this love for their body?
Right. So in addition to just traditional physical therapy, I offer one-on-one Pilates, and I've started offering some small mat classes. I love Pilates mat work because once you know it, you can do it anywhere. You can do it anytime. You don't need anything other than a mat. And it's you against gravity. You don't need any props.
Right.
So I offer some classes. Typically, I'll offer some postpartum, like new mom classes. Right now, I don't have any of those running. My long-term goal is to really get organized and run some online classes and programs. Technology is definitely a challenge for me. And I typically do workshops in the community, like community education and outreach, particularly to the postpartum moms, but it's not always 3 months or 6 months postpartum. A lot of times when moms finally have time to take care of themselves, their kids are 9, 11, 13, they went to college. And it's amazing how quickly some of them feel a lot better when they finally have a little time to take care of themselves. So, so education is a big thing. And then outreach to other professionals. One of my goals with this networking group, I'm like, I've got to figure out how to bring this whole networking group to a facility, a physical therapy clinic, bring it to, I just love sharing stuff. I just got so off topic there. So wellness, right now I have some in-person exercise classes. I do community education and workshops, and my goal is to get to the point where I have some online classes.
That is fantastic. So you meet them wherever they're at. So
Mm-hmm.
in our line of work, we take somebody in, we listen to them.
Mm-hmm.
My question to you is, when we recognize that somebody needs help loving their bodies a little bit more, how do we do that? How do we teach them about their bodies, one, or I shouldn't say how we, because this is about you. How do you teach them about their bodies, help them to know their bodies better so they can develop this love for themselves?
Yeah. So I find the folks that come to me are super receptive. Um, I sort of, when I got out of school, you go through these waves, right? And you're like really technical jargon at first, and you're like, okay, that's not right. And then you sort of step away from that, and it's kind of vague. And I mean, I pull out the anatomy book and the spine and the skeleton, and I show them where stuff is. But they also have to understand the why it matters, like breathing. Like I'll show them the anatomy, the diaphragm and the pelvic floor, and just these moving parts, right? And they're normally in sync. And there's so much that's in sync, because I'm just talking about muscles, bones, and joints. Never mind, cardiovascular, digestive. There's all this symphony of stuff just happening. And most of the time it's just going along. It's fine. And sometimes you hit some bumps in the road,
Mm-hmm.
and you need a little help. And the body, as I'm sure you have seen, the body is so resilient, right? And the ability to heal with a little sort of point in the right direction. Sometimes it goes a little off track, and it needs a little point in the right direction. And people know how to change their oil and put, windshield washer fluid in their car, but like they kind of, they don't even know they have shoulder blades, or breathing's automatic. We learn that in school, right? And it is automatic. Like you need oxygen, so you're just going to breathe. But there's so many different ways to breathe.
Right.
And if I'm sprinting down the street, that's different than final relaxation in yoga, right? Because the demand is different. So I feel like they just love it. They love looking at it. And they'll say, oh, that really helped me. So I set them up, and then I teach them some exercises and have them experience and move their bodies. And, sometimes people get focused on what's not working, but just kind of redirecting them to all the amazing things that their body can do, has done, will be able to do again. So I really find the education, having them understand, like, what are the parts? What are they supposed to do? Why might they not work? What we're doing in life, sitting on our butts all day long, not moving around enough, not getting enough sleep. People just love that stuff. Like they really are interested. And I do meet them where they're at, because some people want to know a whole lot more.
Right.
And other people just want sort of a very, so you meet them where they're at, and it's reinforcement. That was another challenge in healthcare. Sometimes you don't have enough time. Like I tell you once and you get a little, they say, what if you get 20% out of any lecture you listen to, you're doing great. So the next time you give them the same and maybe a little bit more. So just repeating the same information so they can really start to integrate it. And then they come back with questions, because they're starting to connect the dots. And it's so much fun to see when people start to connect the dots. It's really exciting. So I think education is huge. People should know how their bodies work. I mean, we don't need to all be MDs and PTs, but pretty much everybody who takes my Pilates class, I'm like, I want them all to be able to be Pilates teachers. I want them to really understand the movements and why the exercises matter. Like, I'm not doing it so that your biceps look great, right? I don't care how your butt looks. Like, I want you to feel strong and powerful, so that if you have to walk up 4 flights of stairs with all of your groceries, you can do that. Or if you have to carry your baby in those horrible bucket seats that there's just no good way to carry, and have to in and out of an SUV into those seats, you feel strong. Like, that's a good feeling powerful, feeling in your body, experiencing movement. I think that's the key, is remembering to move. I discovered the slow-mo thing on my phone, the video, and I'll film my kids jumping off of a wall or rolling down a hill or swinging and jumping off a swing, right? And remember that freedom and that, like, just just move, just try some stuff. Like, okay, don't be crazy. Don't jump off the swing, but just experiencing your body being in it. And you know what, really go roll down a hill. Like, it is so much fun. And you realize your vestibular system has changed since you were young, but it's so much fun to just move and experience and be in your body. And there's usually, I feel like a good class, there's lots of laughs. Like, it's kind of quiet and serious at some moments, but there should be some stuff to laugh about in a good exercise class. So really experiencing and just moving, but moving in a way that's comfortable and free and easy, and it doesn't have to be forced and hard.
Yeah, I think that's so important, just we often don't understand just how important our role is as an educator to let people know what they don't know. And like you said, to reinforce. And the whole thing about being intentional about wanting to learn more and wanting to do more and wanting to move more, it does empower that person. And I think once that person puts the time, energy, and effort, that's the foundation of building a new sense of self-love, of knowing that this body has served me to this point, and I'm going to do the things that I need to do to make sure that I keep it serving me, and I'm going to take care of the body like it takes care of me. And so this is where I can see that self-love just magnifying and becoming stronger and stronger with each intention. So I really hope people listening understand that, like you said, we're fine all along, and then we get one back pain or we get a knee issue and we're so upset. Oh, and the latest thing is, that's old age. It's not old age. Yes, we do have some issues.
It's not old age.
But it's the care and the attention that we give our bodies, the love, and a lot of times it's lack of knowledge. So don't be hard on yourself. Seek the information, like Angela spoke about. Look for the reasons why this may be happening. Seek out people that are trained and have given themselves to serve you and helping you find the answers and solutions to take care of yourself. So that is just so awesome. And this is why I love your networking program, because you have this patient and you're doing all that you know how to do within your level of education, your level of skill sets, and yet still that we can get more. But I'm just limited in my area at this time, knowing that I have a network of women or professionals that I can pick up the phone and say, look, this is the case. Either you can probably help me talk through it, or should I just send the patient to you? That has just felt fantastic in empowering me as a practitioner to do more for my patients. So speak to your networking group a bit more for me, please.
So it's something I had wanted to create for like 10 years, but after a day of seeing a patient every 30 minutes, I just didn't have the energy at the end of the day. So finally in December, I was like, all right, that's it. I'm doing it. I went to a local brewery and I was like, you know what? Could I host a thing here? It could be just me drinking beer by myself, or there could be 20 people. And they were super gracious and they were like, yep, that's fine. And so, I just sort of put it out there on Facebook was really all I did, and told a few people, and there was a lot of interest. There were like 50 people who were interested, probably about 25 or so actually came. And it's just such a nice mixed group. And so what we have chosen to do is we meet up. Somebody usually hosts, whoever decides to host, usually, so we're in somebody's space, because that gives you such a sense of their vibe, right? Like what the environment is like. And so we spend, maybe half an hour just kind of mingling and chit-chatting and really getting to know at least one or two people. And then we'll sit around and we'll go around and everybody will say a minute or two of what they do or what's their specialty or what they're really into or excited about. And then we usually have two people who speak and or maybe give a little demo. So we had at one event, we had a woman who's a myofascial release therapist. So she told us a little bit about it, and then had us do an active unwinding, a self-unwinding. Wow. And the other one is very different. She's a holistic pelvic healer and an artist. And she builds community through art and does healing through art sort of stuff. And she had us do this really interesting drawing exercise. And it was so much fun. There was a lot of laughter and just... It was more like a night out with friends or an afternoon out with friends than like I got to go network, give people my card. And so it's really such a wonderful group. And we all have our areas that we specialize in, but what has been so nice to see is everybody understands there is this bigger picture, and it's like, okay, what's the root cause and how can I best find that or help this person? And maybe somebody's coming to me with some chronic health issues, but maybe they really need to work with a life coach a little bit. Or the woman who spoke today does hypnosis.
Mm-hmm.
And it was fascinating. Like, you should interview her because that was fascinating. But getting through like what, when they're like, I know I should do these exercises. I know I should not eat a bag of Kit Kats for lunch. And I'm not going to do it. No, wait, maybe I am. Like, what are the blocks, right? Or like one woman I was talking about, she'll do really good with her diet and exercise. And as soon as somebody compliments, she'll lose weight. And as soon as somebody notices and compliments her, she sort of has this, oh my God, they see me, and she self-sabotages, right? So sometimes they can't do the PT stuff until they deal with some other stuff. Or sometimes they're doing the PT stuff and maybe it comes up that they've got some other stuff going on. So it's just so much fun to really, really learn about what other people do and who they can help and how they can help them. And, these little activities we do, and that was a big focus of mine, is I wanted people to share a little bit of their thing that they do in some way, shape, or form, because you get a sense of them.
Mm-hmm.
And also a sense of kind of what they do and experience their sort of language and how they talk and how they treat people. But sometimes we'll learn things that like we might be able to use with our own clients, depending. Like, it's such a mixed group of practitioners. Oh, it's so much fun. It's so much fun. I think there should be one of these in every community, these groups of just, providers who we're all after the same thing. We want our patients to be well. We want them to feel well. It's hard to be happy when you feel lousy, right? And it's hard to be the light for your family when you're not feeling very good. And I just, I hate to see unnecessary suffering. And I feel like a lot of times that happens.
Mm-hmm.
And, moms, so one of the reasons I love working with women as clients is because moms they can really set the tone for their families, right? And our kids learn so much from us, whether we mean to teach them or not. So there's the stuff we teach intentionally and there's the stuff we unintentionally teach.
Right.
So that's so important. And the nice thing about this group, it happens to be all women. We're not opposed to, men. There are males that work with women. This group happens to be all women, and they're, for the most part, moms, not all of them. But what is super nice is, they get it. Life happens. They understand. They are super supportive. It's just so beautiful in so many ways. It's a great group. Awesome. I love it.
That is awesome. What I would love for you to do, and when we post the podcast, if you can put the list of the different professionals that you have in your networking group already, because this, like I said, one of the goals of this podcast is to showcase the various amount of professionals that are out there. And we want to let people know that there are people that work in all different areas, right? And if you've tried maybe a physical therapist, maybe you need to try another physical therapist with a different specialty.
Yes.
Or like you said, maybe you might need a life coach because there's another issue that we need to take care of. We all work part and parcel. We always push the components of wellness, the spiritual, the emotional, the intellectual, the physical. We want all of those components to work in sync. And so I'm just so blown away with this concept that you have. It's just so awesome. So I know one of your specialties, you're a physio with Pilates, a big Pilates drive. And you talked about the mat. When you talk about teaching us basic fundamentals when it comes to Pilates, what do you think are like the strongest points or gifts that Pilates gives to somebody that's doing that?
So I think it's interesting, when people talk about Pilates being mind-body, right? It's mind-body, but in a very different way than yoga. Not better or worse, just different. And I was talking to some of my students today, and it was a fairly simple exercise physically, right? But for her, it's difficult. And she's like, I have to think so hard. So she really had to sort of take in some sensory information and step out of what she automatically wants to do, sort of her habitual movement pattern that's creating some pain and some problems, and learn to move in a new way. Because ideally our bodies, like we have choices and we use as much effort as necessary, but as little as possible. And there's, no movement, in PT school, it's sort of like flexion, or even in PT, like what's your shoulder flexion, external rotation. That's not how you function, right? So there's all these moving parts, and then some parts need to not move, and you have to breathe, and you're trying to stay relaxed. So it's so much body awareness. It really brings them into their body, and it's mentally sometimes more challenging at first for people. But they'll typically say, like, I have a lot of people who say they feel like they had a massage after, or, one woman said her husband calls me her Zen master, because they're so relaxed after, because you can't think about all the other crap going on, right? Because you're so busy being in your body and aware of your body, but not in a like, ooh, that hurts, really in a very, just kind of sensing, being aware, trying it differently. And there's lots of, I love Pilates, but there's Feldenkrais, there's Alexander, there's all these other movement techniques that are about that, just sort of being in your body and experiencing it. The other thing I love about Pilates is ideally it's very balanced, front, back, side, top, bottom, right? So it's really about balance. Breathing is a big part of it. And some Pilates teachers will cue breathing and some won't. To me, the breathing is really important. And that's where I start all my patients, clients, because a lot of them just like to hold their breath, right? They get into these habits and they think it gives them stability. So I'll spend some time on breathing at the very beginning, and I'll cue a lot of breathing. Now, sometimes it's overwhelming, like when somebody's new and there's all these directions. And that's sort of, again, finding that how many words can they handle? And I'll tell them, like, if I have a mixed class, and I'll say, like, I'm going to say, inhale, do this, exhale, do that. But if the breathing part's too much, just ignore me and breathe, however, in or out at some point in time. Just don't hold your breath. So it just, again, starts to bring their awareness. And then for those people who have other stuff going on, right? Like, becoming aware, like, we know breathing does so much, and relaxed breathing and diaphragmatic breathing, like, it affects the nervous system. And that's why they use it in meditation and yoga, because it helps to calm everything down. And you can't be, when all amped up and panicking, when you're doing relaxed breathing. And it just brings back that mindfulness. And it's, people's posture change over time. They'll leave class. It's kind of like the workout you take with you. Like, they'll leave class and they feel taller and they are more aware of their posture. So rather than saying, like, okay, remember to sit up, they just kind of remember for a while. And over time that sticks. They start to know, like, well, this isn't good. You don't realize this isn't good when you do it all the time. And then when you start to not do that, you're like, well, that feels good. I feel more, aligned, and I feel stronger. I have more power. I can breathe better. So you start to notice when you're sitting at the keyboard for a long time.
Did you notice how much taller I got just now?
I know. And that's the thing. Nobody has perfect posture all of the time, and that's okay. It's just that better posture more of the time that we're after, right? Like, we don't have to be perfect. None of us are perfect. That's okay. So yeah, and it's interesting. It helps a lot of people focus, because a lot of times it's these I'm giving these people these multi-step commands, and they've got to stay with me. So again, they really, like, your head is like in the game. You're not thinking about other stuff. Like, you're there, you're focused, you're experiencing your body, you're aware of your body. And it's very balanced, and it's very much coordinating breathing, which we know now is really so important for a lot of different reasons.
Right.
Yeah, it's just good. And it's not the everything. Again, it's a complement to some other things. There are lots of other. So if people have tried Pilates and like, ugh, I hated it, it could be the teacher, right? And even, have you ever listened to a book on tape that you're like, I just don't like the sound of that person's voice or their cadence? So it could just be that sort of auditory thing, right? Or it could be they weren't the right teacher for you. I love teaching people who have lots of issues, right? Or who like never really moved, they don't really know about their bodies. I do not enjoy as much teaching elite athletes who are at a high level who are fine.
Right.
That's just, it's not as fun for me. And that's okay, because there are people who are really good at that.
Right.
And those people probably would come to my class and be like, oh, snooze fest. So, or like, what is all this thinking? This is mentally just too much thinking. So, there's different Pilates teachers, and there's lots of different focuses, but then there are just a whole world of different movement philosophies that are a nice complement. And I always tell my clients, my goal is that they could go to another exercise class and have the worst instructor in the world, but they know how to manage their bodies. They know how to distinguish between, all right, yeah, this is challenging, this is really hard, but it feels like a good thing to do, versus, this is painful, or I think this is going to set off my whatever thing. And if they don't, so ideally in a class, you give modifications, start with this, if that's easy and you want to make it a little harder, add that. But sometimes you go to a class and they just jump right into the hard thing. So I want my clients to know, well, how can I modify that? How can I make that easier? How can I make that fit me? So my class, I do a lot of talking. I don't have music in the background. I'm blah, blah, blah. But I want them to be able to take it with them. And I would love for them to teach somebody else, right? Because, like when you teach somebody else, you really
master it. Yeah.
That is the best way. I'm like, go teach your friend this exercise, and see if you could get through it. Like it's the best way to really internalize and understand. Yeah.
I remember my first couple of classes trying to learn Pilates. I did the mat certification, but I had done a few classes before. And I remember feeling I felt so deflated, because here I am, physical therapist, movement specialist, and there were just certain things that I couldn't get my mind and body to connect. And I'm like, what's this? I'm supposed to know these things. But it was such a good experience, because it made me realize just how much more intentional I need to be when I'm teaching patients that do not have that same knowledge base that I had. And I remember mastering those exercises. I was like, I've got this. This is me. I pull myself up. I'm long. I'm elongated. I'm even coming out of the frame as I elongate. But it's such a good feeling to know that you can control your body, and you think about it, I have it under control, but really fine tuning those particular movement patterns, it just does something to the psyche. It makes you love and appreciate your body so much more.
See, it really does. It really just, and it makes everything easier.
Yeah.
It makes, it's easier to lift up stuff if you're in an optimal position, and it's easier to hold stuff when you're in an optimal position. And if you have to think about what an optimal position, people aren't going to remember that. They're not going to think about it. So it has to become internal. It's like, learning how to ride a bike or learning how to play the piano. It needs to be a familiar movement.
Right.
And you're not going to think about it. You're going to just pick up your groceries or pick up your kid or move the couch or whatever, because I don't know about you, but like if I want to move furniture, I usually do it by myself because my husband's not home, and it's like such a bad idea. And we tell our patients not to do it, but I'm really impatient. So I know we all do that stuff like that. You're like, well, this really is a 2-man lift, but let me see if I can get this bureau up the stairs on my own.
No, definitely. I totally get it. But this has been a great conversation. So we're going to put all of your contact information so everybody can find you in the links below. But as we wrap up, we're talking about know your body, love your body. We talked about the mind-body connection, reaching out, finding that next person that can assist you. Leave us with 3 tips that can help us love our bodies a little bit more.
3 tips that can help you love your bodies a little bit more. Oh gosh, that's okay. So just taking a moment to really be in your body, whether it's breathing or standing or even sitting in your chair, like just be there. Just be there and experience your body, right? Think of the amazing things you did today, whether it was, you got out of bed, you walked. We take for granted all these things like being able to cross your leg and put your sock on. There's so much happening going on. So just taking a moment to be in your body and recognize all the stuff that you do every day. And fun movement is really, I'm a huge fan of either rolling down hills or those spinny chairs at the playgrounds, right? They're not for everybody. You got to use your judgment if that's a good thing for you or not. Or sit on a swing, go to a park and sit on a swing and swing, just feel that freedom. Try to remember what that felt like. And really just breathing. So I have my clients, I teach them breathing, just relaxed breathing, inhale, belly rises, exhale, belly sinks, neck, throat, and jaw relaxed. And just sometimes checking in with your breathing, whether you're lying down, maybe it's before you drift off at night, or if you wake up in the middle of the night and can't sleep, I'll tell you that'll put you back to sleep. Or first thing in the morning. I know I never have time. I'm always running late in the morning, but just being in your body and breathing and find something fun. Just movement is fun. Movement is awesome. And your bodies allow you to do that. You guys are all amazing. You're amazing. I'm amazing. I'm not a bikini model, but my body's amazing. It's fantastic. It's beautiful.
Thank you so much. This has been a fantastic conversation. I've learned so much. I can't wait to have more discussions with you. I can't wait for us to try our Pilates classes online. That's going to be fun.
Yes, that will be fun.
We're going to build this network. We're going to make this an international. I know you're local, but you now have an international partner in your networking group.
I'm going to add you to the Facebook group.
Thank you. But thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your tips. Thank you to the listening audience again for giving us your time. We hope that we've been able to enrich you a little bit more, empower you a little bit more, help you to know your body and to love your body. Please know that there's somebody out there that can help you. If we can't do it, we can find the person for you. I think this is the main message that came out of this podcast today. So until next time, this is Dr. Kitty Adderley signing off, welcoming and thanking Dr. Angela again. And we just look forward to sharing more with you, the recovery expert, recovering the whole of you. Until next time, take care, everybody.
We hope that you enjoyed the show and were inspired. Come and visit us at selfdiscoverymedia.com and see what other shows we have for you. And please do visit our selfdiscoverycommunity.org and see how you can be a part of giving back. Thank you very much.